Hello, I'm Fast Lawyer. Today we are going to review Operencia the Stolen Sun VR. Keep in mind this is for the VR experience only, so I'm reviewing the VR experience and not so much the game itself. Zen Studios released today, September 15th, 2020, a VR port for the game Operencia the Stolen Sun. It's an old school dungeon crawler RPG. So it has grid based movement, turn based combat. I really like this game. I played it before in Pancake, and I'm really happy now to play it in VR. I own this game on the Epic Game Store, and I can confirm that VR does work there. It's available for all the major headsets, however, caution. The only motion controllers that work for this game at this time is the Oculus Rift touch controllers. It's my understanding that the touch controllers for the other VR headsets do not work. You will have to use a gamepad. I tested this out with the Xbox One gamepad, and I can confirm that's the best way to play this game. I did not really like using touch controllers because it's just used really as a gamepad, and it's just not as good as using the Xbox One controller. I also tested this out with keyboard and mouse, and I really did not like that at all, so I don't recommend that. Again, I recommend a gamepad
I know.
to play
It's
this
not
game.
fun.
So if you're not interested in playing a VR dungeon crawler with a gamepad, do not buy this game for the VR. You will be disappointed. You will not like the experience. Now, you do have full locomotion and smooth and snap turning options. I recommend going into settings and changing it to controller movement based versus camera option based. That way you can have the best movement possible in this game. It is grid based movement, but you got a lot of leeway as far as where you can move. So it's not always noticeable that it's grid based movement. And for the most part, it's okay. Not the best movement. If you're used to like a first person shooter, you're definitely going to notice that the movement isn't as smooth and you can't always move exactly where you want. But for the most part, you do have the freedom to move to most areas of the map without too much issues with this movement. Now, you're also using gaze-based navigation in parts for the gameplay. So to pick up an item, you look at the item and then you'll get a prompt to press A. You'll pick up the item. To activate certain objects, you'll do the same thing. You'll look at the object, you'll get a prompt to press A, and then you'll activate that item. Navigating through the menus is not as smooth as polished as I would have liked, but it's okay, especially since it's a VR menu that you're having to navigate. You know, it's fine. I would have liked to seen a better system, but it's functional and it didn't really get in the way most of the time, and I was getting used to it by the end of my playtime in VR with this game. This game is running on the Unreal Engine, and I was getting variable frame rates from as high as 90 frames per second to as low as 45 frames per second, usually 60 frames per second on my 1060 GTX. However, because it is turn-based combat, it really did not affect gameplay at all. Now, the visuals I have mixed feelings about. On the one hand, I really like the art style. I think this game looks absolutely beautiful in Pancake. And in VR, I definitely prefer it. However, there are some issues. You can really tell that this is a VR port and not a game that was built from the ground up for VR, or even with VR in mind, because you do see several flaws with the 3D, with the environments, with several of the assets included in this game. You'll see some poor lighting, some poor textures, and it's just really noticeable in VR. I know I've said this before, but when you have a game that's not always the best looking, you can hide it in 2D, but in VR, you're really going to notice it. And just this particular art style, this particular game, the way it was made, some of those flaws are noticeable in VR. However, for me personally, I would say overall, I enjoyed the visuals, and if I had a choice between whether I would want to play this in Pancake or VR, I would definitely choose VR, just because you get that sense of presence, that sense of immersion that you can't really get in Pancake. Probably the best thing for me about this experience in VR is the back and forth banter. So when you're in VR, You're really in this world. You know, you have your headset on, you have your headphones, and you're really isolated from the rest of the world. And this is where the back and forth banter really stands out versus the distractions you might have in Pancake. And I really enjoyed these 2D stills that are in the game where they're giving back and forth banter. I think it's really enjoyable, and I think it looks nice in VR even though it's just 2D. I think it's a nice touch. So the one good thing about this game is there is a lot of voice dialogue, which is something very different from most VR games, and I really enjoyed the dialogue in this game. It really kept you in the action, and it definitely made me want to progress in this game. I found the combat to be challenging, even on normal, and I found the story to be interesting, definitely something that I want to keep going. And so far the puzzles haven't been too challenging, but I haven't gotten really far in this VR experience. Now, I mentioned earlier that I got this game through the Epic Game Store, and I definitely recommend that you try the VR port if you already own the game. However, to get this to work on the Epic Game Store, you actually have to go to the VR folder itself and manually start the game in the VR folder. So I'm going to put instructions on this video on how to do that. I believe on Steam, as long as you start the game, you'll get a prompt whether you want to start it in VR, and it'll automatically start without any issues. Now, overall, I'm pretty happy with this VR port, but my expectations were pretty low. Like, I was not expecting a free VR port for Operencia The Stolen Sun. I was already interested in playing this game, but now that it has a VR port, it's something that's got me interested and motivated to actually play through the entire campaign. However, if you don't own this game, I would only recommend you buy it if you're interested in old school dungeon crawlers with turn-based combat and you're okay with the limitations this VR port has. Like I mentioned, this is not a game that was built for VR. You're going to be dealing with several issues with using a controller. The visuals aren't the best. However, overall, I found it to be a much better experience in VR than I would in Pancake. So, I'm Fast Lawyer. If you liked my review, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, please have a wonderful day. Goodbye.